CM Punk gets confronted by the Usos, and finally we see a heel turn. Question is, was it the right one? We'll discuss all that and more coming up in a new episode, Two Heels, One Hobby.
You're locked in to Two Heels, One Hobby, the main event for wrestling fans and collectors. Headlines, heat, and high-end cards, hosted by Beer and the Grinch. This is the main event.
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back once again. It is a new episode, Two Heels, One Hobby, one half of your tag team duo, the Bearded Grinch, along with Beer. Beer, how are we doing today?
Doing great, man. I mean, coming off a crazy week. I know we're going to talk some Randy Orton, and we hit on it last week. You know, the best Randy Orton is heel Randy Orton, but like you said, is it the right one? So, Top Scrum releasing. So I know that is a source of frustration for a lot of people out there. So busy week, ready to rock.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. So this week, the Grinch is going to come out because I got to be honest with you. If I recap, taking a look back at some of the storylines and where things were going, I was left a little let down and I was left a little confused. And we're going to get into just some of those highlights. So things started off just kind of weird. Monday Night Raw, we had the roundabout tilt-a-whirl, Seth Rollins coming out with the masked men. Like, I think at this point we know Seth is in the mask. I understand what they're doing. They're probably trying to protect him because his shoulder may not be fully ready to go there, but obviously he gets called to the carpet. They're trying to get him out there to talk and speak for his actions and what he did to Heyman and all this stuff. And then you've got all the masked men coming to the ring, which, okay, I'm all right with that. They kind of surrounded the ring, but then they come in and they do the roundabout whirly whirl, twirl around thing. So then Seth can jump out and, then the Vision comes down to the ring and they do the same thing so that the Vision takes off chasing him. It just, at this point, Seth, we know who you are. Just, you're revealed. Let's just get on the mic. He hasn't even talked yet. So let's get on the mic. Let's kind of just advance the storyline because there's a lot of things up in the air and we don't know where this Seth Rollins is going to head. It's looking like there's a possibility with this open challenge with Brock Lesnar. Maybe that's a direction they go in where, Brock is going to come out and try to avenge Paul Heyman. But I mean, what was your take on the whole just weird masked men thing?
One word, dumb. I get, like you said, I get why they're doing it. Okay, he's not ready. Just don't put him in any spots where he's going to get hurt. It's very simple, but the idea I get that the guy's running around in the mix up, it's like the old magic trick with the cups and the ball and follow it around. And I think it's too much. They've drawn it out too far, in my opinion. So let's just get to it. If he's not ready, let him talk, let him build a story that way. There's plenty of ways that they can do this. I just hope they don't continue this. And I know they will, but let's not take this all the way to WrestleMania. And these guys are all a part of a match. Seth's too good. He doesn't need all of that. Let him talk, let him work. We don't need all these distractions. So the Lesnar thing is interesting. And I saw a story today. Who knows? You read some of this stuff, but him and Heyman saying, we don't want him to lose any more matches, even his final match. So, you think about a match with Oba potentially, who you're trying to build. LA Knight, I hear, who they've already crushed. Are you going to crush him even more? Or you got Seth coming back in his hype. If that were a match, does he take the loss? So just interesting. If there's truth to that, what do you do with Brock? I mean, you have to give him somebody that he can squash and not somebody you're trying to build. But this whole Seth thing, it's just gone too much with the masked men. Get rid of it. Let's just get to the point.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, I think, Brock's really in the driver's seat, right? He can control the narrative of whatever he wants because the WWE wants him. He doesn't need the WWE at this point. So you mentioned Oba, his match real quick. So him and Rusev, I didn't know how long they were going to drag it out. I was like, hopefully this isn't like a WrestleMania push. I think we got past that. The two came out. It was a real quick match. It was just a lot of man meat flying around in the ring, but Oba got the best of him and showed his dominance. And so to your point, as we kind of bring Brock into the fold, you mentioned all three of the avenues they go. If he's failing to lose a match, they're not going to put Oba in there with him at WrestleMania because that just kills all the momentum for Oba coming out as the big bad man that's going to knock off Brock, which most people think is going to happen. Then you look at Seth. Is Seth going to come out and just get destroyed in his first match back? I don't see that doing any good for Seth. And then they're just going to squash LA Knight again. What if LA Knight's the one? Brock ends up going after him. LA Knight responds to this open challenge because he took Paul Heyman in the ambulance. And So then they just crush LA Knight and push him even further down the card than they already have. So, I mean, I think if any of the three are realistic, if Brock will not lose, then that is going to be your option. And then maybe you see a SummerSlam against Gunther on the tail end of this. The only thing good about it, because we like to just throw into the mix the card factor here with it, is this has brought back a little bit of resurgence in Brock's stock, right? So you're starting to see some of his stock come back up, and he doesn't have a lot of new stuff out there. So if you're looking to get his autographs, you're having to peel back into some of the older sets, which is really cool. So it's also bringing some light into some of those older sets that we have. Seth obviously coming back. WWE is like an out of sight, out of mind. So now with him coming back in the fold, you're starting to see some resurgence of his stuff. And then obviously Oba is just continuing on his hot streak. So you start to see his stuff take off, which is exciting.
Yeah, some of the old stuff I think is very interesting, especially some of the older Topps Chrome. You look at some of the prices, compared with today, and you pair up a similar name, and some of the prices are just absolutely way too cheap on some of that stuff. So I, as we talked about last week, as golds get more expensive, people go down to, okay, let's get the next level, the shimmers, the waves, things like that. I think you're going to start to see a similar thing. People can't get their hands on new Topps Chrome, or even last year's boxes are still expensive. The cards continue to go up in value. Let's go back to 2021, even 2013, 14, 15, those years. There's some great values to be had there. I mean, I'm a Seth collector and always looking at those old cards and shocked at some of the prices you can find. So yeah, good to see a resurgence in Brock. Oba's market, obviously on fire. Javon Evans on fire, and Trick Williams, we've kind of talked about, but he's the one finally at starting, but his cards lagged behind those two guys for so long. He's right there with them. I mean, Trick is an absolute star. Still think he's a great buy low. So just a lot of great buying opportunities right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're going to get into the Trick market here in a little bit as we jump over on the SmackDown. A couple just other brief highlights, something that we're not going to spend a ton of time into because I just don't think it warrants it. Bayley winning the gauntlet match for the women to now face AJ Lee this week for the Intercontinental belt. I think we know what's going to happen there. At least the prediction will be AJ is going to get probably the better of her so they can set up that match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. So, that's what I don't like about some of this is some of these matches that they kind of build up the hype for what is going to be in WrestleMania. Well, once they have established that, unless they take a swerve, which we haven't seen them typically do, all of these in-between matches, you already know the results. I don't see Bayley ever come in to win that belt, knowing that you've got Becky Lynch in the weights to finish off that trilogy match against AJ Lee and finally get the belt back from her. So to me, that was kind of irrelevant. But the one we do want to hit on and just kind of get your opinion as to where this goes is we had the Usos confront CM Punk, came out. I'm hoping that this does not go down the road of another Bloodline resurgence. I did hear, the Usos talking about how they're trying to separate themselves from Roman a bit, saying this isn't a Roman thing. This is just a family thing. I'm hoping that's the case because the last thing I want to see is the Bloodline back in the fold. This Monday night, we're kind of going to see some, Roman's going to be back. Brock's going to be back. So it should be a really good episode. Hopefully Roman distances himself and says, listen, I appreciate it, but I don't need you guys. But what's your take on the whole Uso CM Punk Roman thing?
This felt confusing to me. I mean, I get the tie-in, the family, the connection, and they even said this isn't about Roman, this is about our uncle, but it just felt like, where are we going with this? So unfortunately, I think they are going to lean back into the Bloodline in one way or the other. It just seems like what other path is there for the, they've tagged these guys together. Okay. We've seen the Usos for 10, 15, 20 years. As a tag team. We had Jay's single run. I always feel bad for Jimmy. Like why does Jay get all of this? And Jimmy's just a guy here, but I'm not sure where they're taking that. I just don't see another direction other than the Bloodline. I mean, what other opportunities or avenues do they have with this?
Yeah, I did like how Jimmy kind of played cool and calm in this and allowed for Jay to be the hothead. But Jimmy was the one that laid in the CM Punk with the, punch him in the face. So to me, that was kind of good to see. Maybe a little bit of fire. Maybe he's tired of being in the background. I'm going to be honest with you. From an in-ring perspective, I like Jimmy over Jay. I think he's a better wrestler.
I do too. And this could be filler. We know Roman's not going to be there every week. We know we have weeks until WrestleMania. So that's more what it feels like to me is let's fill these next couple weeks and somebody that's close to Roman, can at least get in there with Punk and talk. But I'm interested to see how they tie this in over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Now we transition over to SmackDown. Obviously, that was another just kind of event-filled, evening there with the 3 hours. A lot going on. It started off, Aldis calling out, Drew McIntyre to the mat and just, getting in his face. The two of them going back and the "I quit" out of Drew McIntyre, which
Again.
I think through some people really didn't expect for that to happen. It was short-lived. We'll get into that at the tail end of the evening with the Trick Williams and Jacob Fatu match, but just overall. This is one of those things where, the rumors are he's going to be taking a hiatus to go film his movie. So they're trying to find a way to get him out of it. The "I quit" kind of fills into that. But then there are some question marks with the Fatu and Trick Williams match now as to how this is going to unfold. But to me, this was just kind of setting up that space for him to be allowed to go out when he does. And they have a reason for it, in my opinion.
It's just he's done this multiple times. So, and it's like, the boy who cried wolf, I quit. We know it's all part of the story, but it just gets old. And I love Drew. I think Drew is one of the best in the ring. He's fantastic on the mic, one of the best heels we have right now. But some of the whining, the complaining, it's starting to get old. Like, the same storyline over and over and over. I just think they need a new direction with him, and maybe his time off. They refresh, they bring him back, they get rid of this kind of whiny character. But the matches for him potentially, we know Fatu is an option. Keep hearing about Nick Aldis making his debut. And for those that don't know, he's not just a GM. He wrestled for a long time all over the world. So are they setting that up? Because these two have butted heads for so long that I could see that potentially happening. Now, is that a big WrestleMania match everyone's excited about? I don't know the excitement level for Nick Aldis, but just the quitting, the whining. I just think he's too good, and he can be a great heel with all of that. So we'll see how they handle this. But yeah.
And then there's always the possibility of a triple threat, right? So obviously later on in the evening, you had the one-on-one match that to me this was impressive, right? I think we've got two rising stars here in Trick Williams and Jacob Fatu. We talk card market. These are two guys that, Jacob's been around a little bit longer, obviously, but he's one that you're starting to see some ascension in his value. So he's a buy now if you can get him relatively low. Trick to me is super undervalued right at the moment. He's going to be a world heavyweight champion at some point. I would definitely jump on his card market, but this match was tainted by Drew McIntyre coming back into the fold. Hitting Fatu, getting him. So it wasn't a clean pin. I think that was a good move because I don't think you should have had Trick with a clean win over Fatu. But now it builds the drama of, okay, we obviously can see that they're pushing this Fatu Drew McIntyre thing, but where does that leave Trick? To me, you almost have to put him in the fold somewhere. Does it become a triple threat match and then see who can then become the contender for the belt? But overall, these two, I really like where they're going. I think this is a good duo. I think it's an opportunity too through the end of this. If they turn Trick, I mean, it's hard to say that he's not babyface already, but he's got this persona where he's the tough guy. I think if you turned him full babyface, the roof would just explode off of every event he shows up at. Yeah,
I think you can take him in any direction. I mean, look at the pop that guy's getting every time he comes out. So he is a rising star, no doubt. We said market's low. It's on the rise a little bit, but I still think we haven't seen anywhere close to the ceiling on his market. So definitely a buy. I like the triple threat idea. It's a way to put him in a high profile match. Even Fatu, who, yes, he's been around, hasn't really had that moment yet. I know he's had gold before, but this is a good way. Put them on a big stage, put all three of them in a match. I really like that idea.
Yeah. In the why are we having to watch this again moment of the night? And this is painful for me to put up here, but you've got the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. I mean, if there was a dead horse to beat, this is it. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what the point of this feud is. Even to the point where within the match, I think it was probably one of Uncle Howdy's better matches I've seen as of late. He actually was pretty good in the ring. You had Nikki Cross get the lantern in her hands, and rather than just run up the ramp and take it so it's now theirs, they leave the opportunity for it to get stolen back again. I just don't know where the end in sight is for this. I think this is something that needed to be ended weeks, if not months ago, and get new directions for both of them. I'm just over the whole Wyatt 6 MFT thing at this point.
Well, I think you're going to have to wait a few more weeks. This feels like they're setting up a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. And again, just kind of filling the time in between. So that's how I think it works out for the lantern. They'll make a big deal out of that, but and finally get to that one-on-one match that they've been teasing here. But I'm with you, just getting old. I think both of these groups, there's a lot of potential with a lot of things you can do. We talked about the Wyatts last week, the tapping into the paranormal and things like that, but it just feels stale and getting old. So you're going to be unhappy here for the next few weeks, because I think that's all they're trying to set up here.
Well, and then you've got the X factor of Shinsuke in the mix there. Is he going to be able to, get that final turn to where, the MFTs start to see a little bit of a fracture there? And how does that play in? They've teased it and nothing's really come about. So, I guess that's the interesting thing of it, because Shinsuke, he's got a great fan base. People love him. So if he's in the mix, maybe that'll keep it a little bit relevant. I just think they need to get this thing over with sooner than later, so they can both move on and hopefully get better in the creative direction. And then the big elephant in the room,
while
right
we're here, the Tama Tonga, I think would be very intriguing out on his own. You can see that he bulked up. You can see, they gave him a little push. He was getting some wins, and then he's back in the group and gets lost in the shuffle again. But I think he's great in the ring. If I got to pick one out of that group, Solo's great for sure, whether it's comedy relief or in the ring. But I think Tama Tonga is vastly underused and a guy that could be vastly underpriced in the card market.
Well, and to your point, there you go. So those are those ones, like if you're looking at speculation, right? Like in sports, we speculate on who's going to be that next rising star, that, rookie quarterback that can turn a corner and make a playoff push. In the WWE, that's what you're looking for, right? Is there a chance for him to break out from the faction, make a mid-card run at the very least for maybe an Intercontinental or a U.S. title, to where he can be relevant, and then you can start to see values creep up. So that's a buy low, sell high scenario for sure right there.
Absolutely. So we'll see what they do. I have a feeling they just leave him with the group, but it'd be nice to get him out on his own.
Yeah. And then the elephant in the room, right? The big heel turn that we talked about in the beginning finally came. I don't think it was necessarily unexpected. I think people were waiting. The question that I have, and what we can debate here, and maybe we agree on it, was this the right move? I love Viper. I love old school, angry Randy. I think he's great in that character. But for what reaction we're getting now, it's interesting, right? So Cody Rhodes, they say his name when he's backstage, and you hear just boos across the auditorium. But then he comes out and his music hits, and it's the pop that he always gets. So it's kind of like this, what are you getting from him? Like, where is the audience? I think they're on the fence with him. To me, I think the Cody Rhodes heel turn has a bigger payoff, in my opinion. I would have rather seen that. I think I like a Cody Rhodes heel. I think he's been riding this, train of, just being the face of the company for so long, and being the Nepo baby and getting things handed to him, that he could afford to have had that turn and rode that out a little bit. I think a babyface Randy beating him at WrestleMania would have been a great thing to see as well too, because he could ride out this heel run for a couple months until Mania, get the crowd really hating him, and then have a babyface Randy beat him and take the belt. That's what I would have liked to have seen. But can you go wrong in this? I don't know. What's your opinion?
It's interesting because you turn Randy and he's going to get cheered regardless. I mean, whether it's people love Randy, they hate Cody, you combine all of that together. So what does he have to do to be a true heel and be booed? I mean, I'm trying to think of, do they bring Brandy Rhodes in and we see old Brandy RKOing her? I mean, how far does he have to go before people are finally like, oh man, we got to get on the other side of this. So that's my issue with that. The problem with Cody, it feels like the new John Cena, the guy that's out and doing the PR and doing this and that and Make-A-Wish and all the things that, the WWE wants to be involved with. You have to have a face for that. Who else would it be? I mean, Roman's not around enough. So you can't really turn him when you have all of these other obligations that, he's the top guy that goes to all of these things to promote shows and things like that. I think that's what holds up. That I agree with you. His thing is getting stale. I think he needs a change. Give him a heel turn, have him go against a face Randy, but I don't know that they can do that with all of the other corporate obligations that he has.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who fills that role? I think what kind of turns it sour for me a little bit is, we know WWE is the rinse and repeat that's their go-to, right? The how many masked men have we had? How many times do you see the same storyline play out? And this is another one, right? It started with The Rock and The Rock's heel turn, and that involved Cody Rhodes. Then you've got the John Cena heel turn, and that involves Cody Rhodes. Now you've got the Randy Orton heel turn. It's Cody Rhodes. So to flip the narrative and have Cody be the one that did the heel turn finally would have been refreshing to me. But I guess to your point, who then does fill that huge over-the-top babyface role? Obviously, you've got some in the company, none with as much staying power quite yet as Cody does. But listen, Seth is one of those people. Let's see where this plays out. Right now, he's on the other side of the vision. Seth in just a straight babyface role. I mean, that could accelerate him back into the top again, and maybe he could be that guy that carries it because he's got such a huge following. So it would be interesting. I mean, outside of him, I don't really know who you put in that place because you've got CM Punk, you've got Roman Reigns. They both play that sort of fence character where they're not quite a baby, they're not quite a heel, they're just kind of towing the line a little bit. So unless it's one of these up and comers, I think Trick Williams, to our earlier conversation, could be one of those guys that if you have a huge baby face turn for him, he could accelerate quickly up the ladder to be a face.
Yeah, I think that'll take time. I mean, if I'm looking at, I think Rhea Ripley could be a good ambassador, if you wanted to look into the females. So we'll see. I've been wanting that turn for Cody forever, but I think that's the reason they held him back from that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, we'll see how things shake out. Like I said, tonight on Monday Night Raw, you're going to have Roman Reigns return. So we'll see what he has to say with Punk and how he addresses the Usos. You've got Brock Lesnar coming out. You're going to have Bayley and AJ Lee fighting. So we're going to see where that plays out. So a lot of good things to kind of unfold. Hopefully we, tie up some things this week. So it'll be interesting to see that. But also, we don't want to neglect the cards, and we've got a really, really big release kind of on the heels here. It dropped a couple days ago with their sort of first off the line version of the Chrome. I think they ended up at $725 a box. And then they had the official drop today of the pre-release, for Chrome under $300 a box, a bit more realistic, but 2026 Chrome coming out. What are you excited about in this release, and why do you like Chrome?
I've always been, I can go back to my sports card collecting, and Topps Chrome was always one of my favorites. Just a high quality product, the number of inserts in there. I really like the design this year, and I'm glad they stuck with some of the, the harder case hits, some of those that sometimes they go away from, but it's nice to see them. Yeah. Like the feel, the pop, which are incredibly hard to find. The helixes look good this year. So, the inscription auto game in WWE, I think is incredible too. So we're starting to see a lot of that, but I wanted to touch on the release of this. And I know this is a frustrating topic for a lot of people. And both of us were in there, at noon and trying to get boxes, and you can't, it's literally impossible. So there's two sides to the coin, as a collector. Yes, it's incredibly frustrating. When you want something, you want to get your hands on something, and how could Topps do this? And they don't care about the collector. Look, at the end of the day, it's a business, and if I'm running a business, it's bottom dollar. Unfortunately, sure. Yes, you care about your consumers, but if people are willing to pay this, I'm charging this, and they're going to keep pushing the envelope to maximize those profits. That's just the business world, unfortunately. And I'm right with you guys. I'm frustrated with it as well, but that's just the way that it's going to be. The good news, how good of a shape the hobby's in. I mean, when these boxes are getting snapped up in seconds, or there's the first off the line boxes going for $725, that's encouraging to me that the demand is out there. Will they ever meet that demand? We'll see. Do we get to a tipping point where, okay, now there's just boxes sitting around? I don't see that happening anytime soon, and then maybe we start getting into overproducing and things like that. So look at it from that sense, in that, yeah, maybe you didn't get your hands on a box. Let the hype kind of cool down, like we talked about last week when a new product comes out, and go after the individual cards that you want, the singles that you want, breaks, however you want to approach it. But I'm just encouraged that the hobby, the interest in these cards is that high right now.
Yeah, I think you hit on it. That's really the play. I mean, they can implement an EQL, which during drops, that's going to help to eliminate some bots. You're still going to have the opportunity. Like when I went in there, I had the opportunity to buy up to, what is they limit you, 10 individual boxes, right? So to me, a couple things you could do, and I don't know how they would do this. So I'm talking like these are pipe dream things here, whether they're easy to do or not, who knows? Instead of having a 10 box limit, why don't you limit it to 3? It then opens the door for more people to get their hands on boxes. Maybe limit the case drops to hobby shops, and it's somewhere there. So then it leaves the consumer, you and I, the chance to get the boxes. The hobby shops can get the cases. I don't know if that's a feasible way to do it, but just limiting, I think right out of the gate, if you limit it from 10 down to maybe 3 boxes per person that's signing in, that's going to get the boxes in more hands. They're going to sell out regardless, so I don't think they have to worry about product sitting. I was honestly surprised that $725 was the price. I thought they were going to snap fill at first, right at I think they started at 800 and then dropped 25. I'm surprised it even got down to 725, to your point, with the way that the market is. What we're seeing on the heels of Universe and how high some of those singles are going for, it's just mind-blowing. It's competing with Flawless and the best in Chrome and everything from a price. And I don't know if that's just FOMO because people just want to get it now and they're afraid that the inventory is going to dry up. I don't know if it's that they're just salivating for new product because it had been so long since the last drop. So people are just throwing money out on anything. But it's a great time to be in the hobby. And I'm excited for Chrome too, to your point. I think those superfractors, they're some of the biggest chases in the hobby. To your point, the inscriptions that they're putting on them now. I mean, I know that there's already a bounty of $4,000 or $5,000 out for the Randy Orton 101 hanging out there. And so we're just seeing some incredible things. So it's a good time to be in the hobby from both sides. And we can do an episode on this specifically from a collecting standpoint, there's definitely ways that you can quote unquote play the game, right? You don't necessarily have to get that $725 box because buy the singles that you want and they're going to be a fraction of the cost. And then you get the cards without the risk. But if you're risk adverse, that's a good way to do it. If you like the risk and you like the hunt, then join a break. And for a fraction of the price of having to buy the box, you can go after a few different wrestlers and still enjoy the thrill of the hunt without having to go all in.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how exciting opening packs and boxes and things like that are. It's that chase, it takes you back, whatever reason it may be. Generally, it's a losing proposition. If we have to line up 100 hobby boxes and open them up, a couple might be winners, but the majority are going to be losers, unfortunately. So, the other thing, that the price at $269, I thought wasn't bad. I thought for sure after they probably already had this set, but seeing how the first off the lines were going at $720, I thought this would be $349, $399. And I know it's more expensive than last year's drop, but the demand is there. The price is going to go up. It's only going to continue to go up. And with things coming in the pipeline, it's only going to get more expensive and even harder to get. So it really is you have to exercise patience. You have to, we didn't even touch on the elephant in the room, and there's probably people watching like, breakers are the worst. They're getting all the product. They're selling the spots. It's just, again, it's a business that they can buy these cases at a time and they can move them. And yeah, they're going to have deals with these companies because they're spending the money. So whether we like it or not, it's a part of the hobby, the culture right now. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. We see it on Whatnot, Fanatics, eBay Live, Facebook. I mean, people love breaks. That demand for products is going to continue. And these frustrated consumers, collectors like us are usually left holding the bag when you do want to grab a hobby box or two.
Yeah. Well, and at some point, every commodity item gets to that, to where, it becomes hobby versus business. Where are we turning? That's going to be an age old debate that we can probably do an entire show on, just going on both sides of the coin there. But, what we have to do is take a step back and realize that even from a collector's perspective, even if you're not one that typically sells your things, the demand is good, right? The scarcity and demand are what drive price. So both of those things are going to make your collection at home all the more valuable because those products are going to be harder to get and they're not going to be available. So you got to look at the silver lining to things. The other thing we want to touch on before we roll, and this was kind of interesting. So Exalted is another Topps product. They were actually slated to go out in production prior to Chrome, but Chrome sort of jumped in front of them. So I'm not sure what the plans are yet, but this is another product we're kind of on the heels of. This is one of their signature cards that's going to be coming out. These are the black and white autos along with some insignia ink, which are going to be legends and things, Stone Cold and those guys. But to me, another really good looking on card. That's what I love about Topps, is you're going to get a lot of on card autos, but this is going to be a product that I'm looking forward to. And maybe probably we talk price point in it, a little bit lower price point than what you're going to see with Chrome.
Yeah, I'm excited about the next couple products. So I'm wondering if Chrome got pushed in last year. It's probably too late, but the WrestleMania buybacks, things like that. So I don't know with an April release if they're still going to do that as it cuts it so close. Maybe they do it and they extend it, a couple months past WrestleMania. That could be a reason that they got it out. But Chrome is that perfect mix of it. It's not a cheap product. It's not a super high end product. It's premium, but it's in that mid range where anyone can reasonably get their hands on. I know boxes are tough, but you're going to start seeing it at Target, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, KB Toys.
You're old school now. We're going to Toys R Us.
Yeah, not KB Toys, GameStop. So,
yeah.
But you'll start seeing. I know that's been frustrating as well. Is there's no retail product. We don't see anything on the shelves. I think you'll get a decent amount. Now, how long it sits on the shelves, not going to be long. So you're going to have to get out there and do your hunting. But it's just such a good middle ground type of product. But yeah, those autos look great. I always love the black and white. I'm with you. I much prefer on-card autos. They just look cleaner. Just the look of that sticker sometimes. And I have many a sticker autos in my collection. But if I'm choosing, give me the on-card auto all day. So we've still got a lot coming from Topps. So, does that water things down? Do people get sick of certain products? I do think if you like Universe, wait a little bit, and those prices are going to start to come down a little bit, and then you kind of jump in and scoop what you want. But I just don't know that I like it all crammed together like this.
When they do kind of put them too close, yeah. And I'm going to be interested to see with Chrome, right? So we talk about that being more of a mid to high tier product in comparison. So I thought Universe was kind of on that Donruss Elite, that Revolution type, level, which is, mid lower level. And if those prices on singles are skyrocketing, I can't even imagine what these Chrome singles are going to be doing. So interesting thing to kind of look out for as we start to see it come out, through breaking, and then people start listing singles on eBay. I'm going to be really curious to follow that. Not really like a wow insider trading, but if you're new to card collecting, Beer touched on it. There is the retail side of things. So if you go to those stores like the Walmarts and the Targets, you can find retail boxes of product. It's not going to have the guaranteed hits, much lower price point. And what I do like is places like Target are limiting a lot of consumers on 2 boxes only at a time. So you may be able to get your hands on it there. That can kind of, get that, wanting to rip, out of your system a little bit, so you can rip some of those and then maybe buy some singles down the road. So there's a lot to be excited about in the hobby. I think there's a lot to be excited about as a consumer of WWE as a whole, from programming to what's going to come out in the sports cards. And the marriage of just the two of those is going to be great as we ramp up to WrestleMania and see what's to come. So I'm excited about, we're going to have a whole lot of content coming up here in the next few months on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, definitely an exciting time. WrestleMania is always fun, all these products. And I want to touch on the retail real quick. I know a lot of people are belief that I can't hit anything out of retail. What Universe, you're seeing 101s come out of there. I've personally hit, some low number cards out of retail. Stephanie Vacure, Green Flash rookie out of Select last year out of a blaster. So, are you going to get the guaranteed hits like you said? No, but I think they're doing a good job in both companies, Panini and Topps, when Panini had the license, of mixing some of that stuff into the retail. So it's not just an automatic loser. Again, are most boxes going to be losers? Yeah, that's been the case forever. But there are hits in some of those boxes. But yeah, all these releases, royalty, I just can't wait to see what that looks like. And, is it on pace or on the same page as Flawless? We'll see, but yeah, exciting times, and the market, the interest in it, just everything is ticking upwards. So your point of, don't forget about your collection. All these things help your collection. If you've been buying and accumulating and things are starting to dry up, that's good for you. So just keep that in mind. There's always another side to the coin.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive in the hobby. Well, we've got an exciting Monday Night Raw coming at you tonight. So Excited to see what Brock and Roman bring to the table. We'll be back again next week with another episode recapping all the news and highlights, bringing you more sports card information and just knowledge about the hobby. But we appreciate you coming along for the ride with us. Make sure that you like and subscribe, tell your friends, get them to come on board. And if you've got any suggestions about content that you want to see in future episodes, make sure you comment that below. But until next time, this is Two Heels, One Hobby. I'm the Grinch, that's Beer, and we'll see you next time.
That's the final bell for Two Heels, One Hobby. Wrestling news, collector heat, and championship talk. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join the movement. Hosted by Beer and the Grinch.